Kia ora, everybody. How much does the old Facebook Live suck these days? I'm not going to be too negative, but it does. I go in there and I try and use the old school Facebook Live, and it didn't work properly. So instead, I'm going to come to the system that I'm used to using now, which is through my live stream system. So let's start again. There's always room to improve, ne? So today's little online event, which is coming out to all of you who are watching, because I did such a stink start in the 15 minutes ago, did not work. Um, I'm going to talk to you for a moment about Marae and Whakairo insurance and the ins and outs of that. All right. So feel free to chuck your questions into the comment section here. And tēnā koe kahurangi. And as we go along, I'll answer them. I'm also going to be inviting any of you who want to and who make it to the end of my kōrero here, my live stream, into a Google Meet hui. So if you have any more direct questions and you want to have a bit of time in a group setting, you can come in and we can talk more, okay? Might be some questions you have about your specific marae, about a specific scenario, and that's what we can talk about. So let's go for no more than, say, 15 minutes right now, where I'll talk to you about marae and Whakairo insurance. So, marae and Whakairo insurance is actually is a type of commercial insurance replacement assessment, and it's required to determine what the replacement cost will be if there is a total loss to your building and improvements. Ka pai? And I'm going to read something else because I just want to make sure I get it right. It is important that you have the correct level of insurance cover to replace your buildings to its existing state when new. A sum insured assessment report will provide you with the required amount to adequately cover the replacement and reinstatement cost. So this is really important difference because market value is not what we're doing when it comes to reinstatement value. Okay. Market value is how much you can sell Whakairo for, or sell the wharenui for, or sell the marae buildings for. We're not doing that. Many people come up and say, but you can't value them, they're priceless. I'm not trying to value them because you're not selling them. Yeah. This is simply to value how much it will cost to reinstate your buildings and your taonga. Okay. So most valuers will not value outside of their expertise. Okay. And so you'll have I think there is about one, two, three that I know of right off the top of my head in Aotearoa who will also do an insurance valuation for the Whakairo and the Toi Māori. So what many of you may have seen in the past, if you've on a trust and you've ordered a valuation, is they will exclude what they're not valuing. So you need to read those reports really well and just make sure that what you're being insured for is on the report. So it might say it'll cost $2 million to reinstate the buildings. Okay, but have a look at this fine print, and it may say or not say this is excluding Whakairo, Toi Māori, or like Whakairo artworks, and the bell, for example, the bell that you ring bell for church and for the marae at the marae. So it will have specifically what the valuer will exclude. Okay, so I do not exclude Whakairo and the artworks part, the tukutuku, the kōwhaiwhai, all of that can be included. They are separate valuations, all in one report, but they are separate numbers, all right? Because again, what we're telling your insurer in the valuation is not how much it's worth, but how much it would cost to replace whatever aspect of the valuation that we're talking about. The marae buildings, so the wharenui, the ablution block, the church that might be there, the dining room, and then the other items are your Whakairo. the flag pole, you know. So you can include, I can include all of those. So what is it? Two aspects. The theme of today's short kōrero are saving you money. And this is very relevant because, as an example, I'm just coming off the top of my head, policies that I have seen, the premiums that some I have had to pay have been around, let's say, $6,000 just for the buildings per annum for a wharenui, the ablutions block and the wharekai. $6,000 a year. And that's a small marae that's not necessarily urban. And so they don't have a lot of income. So $6,000 is a lot of money, whānau. That's for the insurance. The valuation will probably be about $3,000, $2,000, $3,000. So for some people, for some marae and hapu, these costs are becoming, they're quite crippling. And then so the choice is not to have them, not to have the insurance. And then there's the risks, other risks. So I'm not saying to you whether you do need it or not. I'm saying if you do need it, these are some of the steps you can take to reduce those costs of the valuations and potentially the cost of the premiums. At the other end, we've had some really urban marae, which are right in town, and the valuation is the cost of maybe $2,000 to $3,000. Then the premiums are up around $24,000 per year. All right. So the premium is what the insurer has said. If you want to insure the whare and the Whakairo and things, you'll have to pay us $24,000 a year and we can cover you for that 4 million, 6 million, 8 million, whatever the number is. Ka pai? So we're talking about really big numbers here, really crippling costs for marae. And if you will lend me your ear over the next few weeks, I'm going to be trying to drip feed to you what you and your hapu trust or your marae trust can do to start reducing some of those costs, okay? And I'll try and keep it to three things. So first and foremost, recording your data. You need to record them in the first place because these are your taonga. I mean, the actual recording of them, the photos, the purako, the whakapapa that goes with things, those are taonga in themselves. And if you don't define that, the people who take your photos and things can actually have a claim that those photos of theirs, you gave them permission, they're in their reports, and they can be used how they like. I'm trying to be delicate about it, but and that is really a breach of your Indigenous data sovereignty, your sovereignty over your own images, stories, genealogy, songs, and whakapapa. So you need to be recording these items, whether that's physically by taking photos, by writing things down, by recording whakapapa, by recording songs, by recording them digitally if you want to, maybe in a Google Drive, a cloud based recording system. And I'll be introducing to you some other ideas, some other options that are coming up over the next couple of weeks. But you need to record them. And then whenever your valuer or your consultant, whoever that is, comes along to do your assessments, be very upfront with them that they are not to replicate your intangible and intangible assets digitally. So that and be specific, and that includes pictures, voice recordings, any knowledge of whakapapa, any purako that you share with them. And that, for me, my Indigenous data sovereignty policy covers that I will take photos and images, photos and recordings to help me with my assessment, but the only recordings I put into my reports are enough for an insurer to be able to see that they exist and to know that the detailed photos exist, but not enough and close enough up enough to be able to be replicated. Because without your permission, there shouldn't be photos out there that enable somebody else to be able to replicate or use your images, okay, for their own marketing or for whatever purpose. Okay, so that's the point. Record them for yourself, your photos, pūrākau, audio, etchings of your carvings, and detailed photos. You can do that physically, like printing things off or recording them on CDs. Do we still have CDs these days? Or whatever, USBs. Okay. Or recording everything digitally. And then being very specific whenever you have a consultant, such as a valuer, that they are not to replicate or use or reuse any of the digital assets that they have recorded during your assessment. Okay. So for me and my practices, how I do that is I will do my inspection where you have to measure everything up. We have to take photos. We have to be able to describe what we're seeing and provide a full report to the insurance company, to the insurer. But I will provide only a very broad image, for example, to them, and then watermarked, making sure every image is watermarked and making sure that there is express permission from the owners of that data to be able to use it in the reports and in the assessment. Ka pai? So if you don't record and hold on and then tell people explicitly how they are not to use your data, it can be used for other purposes, images and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm talking now. The other thing is when we as valuers have to do our assessments, any photos, any recordings, any kōrero that you can provide before having to come to the actual inspection day can help reduce the cost of your valuation fee. And the reason is you've done the work and people like me don't have to. So when valuers have to come out and do all and spend half a day, for me, it probably takes a day to do measuring up the buildings and then measuring up recording the detailed photos and describing what I'm seeing. If that takes a day, half a day, you could be looking at around about $2,000, $2,500 just for the inspection fee. All right. Whereas if you've done that and you've been told a checklist of what you need to go and take a photo of, what you need to record for us and provide it in advance, and that takes an hour or two to look over the file and then just an hour to come along on the inspection day and look at, reconcile what we're seeing, what I'm seeing with what you've provided. Now that's a significantly reduced inspection fee. So you could be going down from, $2,500 down to something like $500. Yeah, for the inspection fee. So that's a saving there, quite a significant one. And also, now on this matter, you will need to get advice from an insurance expert. But I have understood from some in the past that insurance is all about risk. And so here's a valuation. A valuation could be, I say it's worth $1 million for insurance to replace this building and the Whakairo. That's an example. Now, if an insurance company thinks that that has a risk rating of 2, a multiplier of 2, and that's it could end up being a premium of $1,000 a year. But if they think it's a risk of 4 times the usual, then that could be a premium of $4,000 a year. Do you see what I mean? So now I'm not saying that's the multiplier. Please check with your insurance expert, but I'm saying relatively higher risk is higher cost. Okay, lower risk, which is more information, is lower cost. A good report will give you give the insurer a full speaking report. Okay, that means that there's enough detail for them to understand what risk um, they are insuring. Yeah. Oh, this sounds really risky. They've got one-liners in here and some pretty crap photos. Oh my gosh. It looks like it's by a lake, which half of them are in Rotorua, for example, where I'm from. It looks like it's up in a lake. Is that going to fall in there or what? You know? So a good valuation report will provide enough detail and commentary to the insurer that they can understand the risk for themselves. Okay? Bit too technical. I'll leave that for another week about how you will provide that information. But the more information, photos, floor plans, uh, stories, audio recordings that you can provide, but floor plans, any work, any things you've had fixed so that we can assess how much it costs to replace things in your area, those things will help. Keeping those in either a physical copy or in a digital format, recording them online or on a USB, is very, very helpful to any of your valuers to be able to provide a full speaking report that paints a really good picture for your insurer. Okay. The more comfortable an insurer is, or the more comfortable a bank is with what they're giving you money for or cover for, it can help to reduce the perceived risk of marae or the asset. Let's just say the asset. Ka pai? So, kia ora everybody, and thank you. That's our very short event. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to set up. Let me find it here. I have found myself quite technologically challenged lately. Okay, we're going to go into I'm going to make a hui. So let's go hui, marae. And we're going to go for right now. I'm going to have it go till 2 p.m. We'll make it a Google Meet. I'll click save. And I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to do something a little bit risque. Let's put it here in the comments right down below. I'm going to put it in the chat. There you go. So you'll see that down in the chat box, okay? If you want to, if you're someone who has some more specific questions, you're welcome to come over there and join me. I'll only be in there for about 20 minutes. All right. If nobody comes, that's okay. I've got a cup of tea anyway. Stay with me on this topic over the next few weeks. I really love to enlighten you more and bring you all like your attention to how important this is, because the marae is really the hub of our hapu. And whether you decide to insure or not is definitely your choice. But if you do, I would love to help to be able to reduce, some of these inequities that are happening out there as far as cost goes. Ka pai? So I'm going to go over to my Google Meet now, and we have some face-to-face time with anybody who wants to have some specific questions. Kia ora, everybody, and thank you so much for hanging there with me. Auntie Inez is not the best on the old Facebook Lives anymore, so I'll go do some tutorials or something. But we made it. Ka pai.